Okay, so we're going to look now at how to create an assembly of parts. So we've got an assembly here made up of 4 parts that we've got produced previously in SolidWorks. So what we're going to do, you should have been given these parts or shown how to access to download them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create an assembly of the 4 parts, and we'll configure a few things and change a few things as we go along. And then we'll produce a drawing, an assembly drawing, and we'll look at an exploded assembly as well. So to begin with, what we need to do is to open the 4 parts. Now you should have been given these 4 parts. You need to browse to find where they are. You should have been given a bracket, a pin, a pulley and a washer. So what we want to do is we want to open all 4 parts. So I'll start by opening the bracket, the pin, doesn't matter the order in which I open them, pulley, and then the washer. So we'll open the 4 parts first, and then we'll minimize them down, and these 4 parts now will come into our assembly as we need them. Before we do anything, we're going to just modify the pulley. So what we're going to do is a quick modification of something on the pulley, and we'll modify the material. So I'll go to malleable cast iron, I'm going to edit the material, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it into something that will look a little bit maybe neater in the assembly itself. I'm just going to call it chrome stainless steel, apply, close, and I'll minimize it down. So with the 4 parts open, there's a couple of ways in which we can go to do an assembly. I could go up and I could just make assembly from parts. Because the 4 parts are open, the 4 parts will come up and show me there what I'm going to do. Okay, close that down. What I'm actually going to do is open up the bracket. So the bracket is my first part. There's my bracket, and I can also go, well, I can go make an assembly from the part. Again, this is my assembly pane. This is where I'm going to do all my work, and the 4 component parts that I want there. Whichever part I highlight will be the first part that I fetch in. So I'm going to fetch in the first part, which is my bracket, and I want to position it relative to a sort of time and space, relative to the planes that we work with. Now, if I just click tick, it will come in and it will drop it in place. And if I go on there, it'll show its position relative to the plane. So I now know what I've got. I can move it. The moment it's fixed, if I wanted to move it, go onto the bracket, right click, pick float. Now it'll have undone all the links that put it in place. So I can now go back and fix it in space if I wanted to. So if I wanted to do that, I'd have to go back and mate it with the planes. So a mate is the coincidence, a parallel, whatever I'm going to use to fix it to something. So if I wanted to mate this, I'm just going to show you quickly. I'll pick the top plane, so the top plane shows up there. I'm going to pick a coincidence mate, and I'll pick the base of this. So now what it does, it puts it and fixes it in one position. So I've reduced the number of axes of freedom that I've got, of movement. So next thing I could do is pick the front plane of that. Now if I expand this down, I can find the front plane of my bracket, and it'll make it a coincidence there. Again, now all I've got is movement in one direction. The number of axes are reduced. And my third mate, well, my third mate will be, let's say, the right plane there and the right plane of my bracket. Okay, so now it's fixed. It's back where I was in the beginning. So that's the option you've got. You can bring it in, insert a component, click on the component, accept it, and it will put it in position, or if you want to reposition it, you can do. So I've got my bracket in position, it's fixed. I have to have one part fixed solidly in position before I work any further. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in the next component part. So the next component part I'm going to fetch in, I'll fetch in the pulley. Now the pulley had just come in and it's attached to my cursor. And if I just click there, puts it in position for me. So my pulley now has to fit in between my bracket and aligned with these two holes. So again, I'm going to use a mate. So the mate is what we use to align things. That's the first thing we really want to do is align it to the holes so that we know it's going to fix in there. So using a standard mate, I'm going to click concentric. I'll pick on one of the holes and I'll pick on the inside surface there and the inside surface there. And again now, so this will now only move along the axes of the holes. Now I need to put it in between the surfaces. Now there are some what we call advanced mates that we can use, and the width mate allows us to adjust things to fit in between parts. Now although these two parts are actually size for size, in reality we'd have a tolerance on them and we'd need to have some clearance on them. So maybe the best mate to use there would be to go to the advanced mates and use the width mate. And all I'll do is I'll click on that surface, spin it round, pick on that surface, and then it's asking me now for the next set of surfaces. Well, it's that one and that one, and then when I accept that, that's now fitted in there. So what I've now got is this part fitted perfectly into there. So that's my next bit done. So I need to bring in my next component. Well, we'll bring in the pin. There's my pin. Drop it down there. Again, the easiest way to do this is align the hole with the shaft of the pin. So I'm going to go to a mate. I'm going to click on the inside and the outside, and it will turn it around. And I'm going to turn this round, pick on this surface and this inner surface here, and it'll align that there. Now, I've now aligned it, but I can spin it. And really speaking, I want to have this in the vertical there. I can go back to the concentric mate and lock it. Okay, by locking it, it means I can't rotate that at all. But I want it locked in the vertical plane. I want to make sure that it's in the vertical plane. So I unlock that, and this now rotates again. So to lock it, I'm going to use a mate similar to we used when we brought in the. This is locked again. Just going to open it, unlock it. I'm going to use the planes to mate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mate. I'm going to expand down the pin, and I'm going to use the mates that I've got here. So if I use the right plane of the mate and then come over this, just look for a plane that's in the same angle, and I can use a coincidence, or I could use parallel. I'll accept that. Now when I accept that, this is locked in that position, so I now know which plane that's locked to. So the next component I'm going to fetch in is my washer. Bring my washer in, and in a similar way, I'm going to mate it. I'm going to mate it to concentric, making sure we pick the inside concentric. Now my washer's disappeared inside, and this happens from time to time. So what I need to do is to be able to find my washer, and I can see where the washer is, but I can't get to it. So I'm going to change, just going to change the transparency of a component. So I'm going to change the transparency of that. It's not gone inside there. So I might have to change the transparency of this. There's my washer. So I can now go and grab my washer and drag it out. Because the transparency's changed, I need to go back and to make them visible again. I can go back to my bracket and change the transparency back to my pulley, change my transparency back. Okay. So now I found it. So you sometimes find that they do disappear, and you do have to do things like that. So now I want to mate to this surface and the inside surface of there, and move it a bit closer so that I can see what I'm doing. Mate, pick the surface of the bracket, spin it round, pick the surface of the pulley, of the washer, sorry. Yeah, job done. But again, the washer moves, and I want to align it on the planes. So once more I'm going to go to a mate, going to pick the right plane there, going to expand the washer down, find the corresponding plane as the right plane, use a coincidence so they're aligned. Coincidence just aligns it, and that's that done. So my assembly pretty much made. So now what I do is that I'm going to save as, I'm going to save it as my assembly. I'll call it my pulley assembly. Save all. Saving all will just mean it'll update all of the parts that we've got open. So we've got that bit done. So it would be nice now to put a pin into the assembly. So we could make a pin, but we've also got them pre-made. If you come across to the design library and pick on toolbox, and it'll ask you if you want to add in your toolbox. Click add in toolbox. When you add in your toolbox, what you'll see are a number of standards that you could work to. If we come down to ISO, we're going to put a pin in, so we'll click on a pin, we'll put a spring pin in, and we'll use the spring pin, the slotted hardened spring pin. Click on that, and it should allow us to bring a pin in. There we go, bringing a pin in. I can select the size of it, so I know it's a 2mm hole, so I can make it 2mm, and I can select the length of it. I actually want it to be, well, we'll have 26. It'll be slightly larger than this part, but it's done. Configure it. Now I can put as many of these in as I want. Once I've got my one in, I don't need to. So that's it. So, and it moves around, and then it's just the same. It's just a case of using mate to align it and to position it to where I want it to go. So if I go to a mate, where do I want it to go? Actually, I want it to go inside here. So I'll pick the two surfaces. There we go. Concentric. And then if I pick the outside of this surface, I'm going to have to zoom in now on here to the top of the roll pen. I'll just click on the top surface, and it should be a tangent. It selected a tangent for me. And if I zoom out, there's my roll pin just in there like that. So I can add a pin. If I didn't want to put a roll pin in and I wanted to put something else in, well, within my design library, I've got multiple other things that I could have used, from bolts, keys, lots and lots of different options. So spring taper pin. So if it had been a taper pin, I could put a taper pin in. I've got keys that I could have put in, parallel keys, Woodruff keys, all different sizes that allow me to put them in. And I've got all these other international standards that I could work to. So that's my assembly done. I'm going to save it again. Okay, saving my assembly. And now what I want to do is to look at the parts and what we can do with that. What we could also do is we can actually explode assemblies. So we can make an assembly into an exploded assembly so that we can then put it into a drawing to show people how it would go together. So to explode an assembly, we go to explode, and then it's a step-by-step component as we take it apart. So really speaking, the first thing I need to remove is the pin. Grab the triad, take the pin up out of the way, leave the pin there, take the washer off, grab the triad, drag the washer off, take the pin, take it out, move that. Happy with that? Accept it. Now what is created is what's called a configuration, and up the top here on the design features tree, if I come across, I've got configuration manager, and under that I've got an exploded view. If I right click on it and I tell it to collapse, it'll actually collapse and show me how it goes. So I've got a explode, collapse, save again. So if I explode it now, I can now put lines in to show how I want it to go back into assembly. So which way I would connect component parts. So basically I can connect this part to this part. Okay. Reverse the direction so it goes in like that. Except that. So my next part will be, well, I need to put the pin in. So I need to put the pin in to there. My washer, well, my washer will go from there to there. Didn't pick my washer up. My washer up from there to there. And then my pin will go from, I need to zoom in a little bit on the pin. My pin will go from there and into my hole here. Into my hole there. Okay. And so I can see now how parts go together with directions on them. Again, rebuild this now, rebuild and collapse and save. So what we're going to do now, we're going to look at how to put it into a drawing, and we're also going to have a look at, we can just add some properties to our parts to help us create a clear and concise assembly drawing. So in the next video we'll have a look at how we can edit some parts and then create the drawing.